When you start to think about how this affects kind of the Bitcoin and crypto market, there's obviously a macro impact for sure, but there's also some things around the nuances of the industry itself. We've seen contagion throughout the market. We've seen asset prices crashing. We've seen a ton of kind of chain reactions. What's your general feel for where we are right now? Should we still be worried about some of this contagion? Should we be worried about future failures of businesses or of assets? Is there a little bit of a lull and relief and everyone can kind of take a deep breath, which may be in contrast to what happened over the last 3 or 4 weeks? Like, how are you feeling about it and what are you thinking at the moment?
Yeah, so I mean, certainly we've seen a lot of pain. There's been almost no relief for the longest time, just consolidation and straight down. And actually, one of the more kind of worrying things from just analyzing trends is that Nasdaq, S&P 500, Bitcoin correlations have been very positive for all of 2022 to the downside and upside. And in recent weeks, we've seen that correlation, that beta really intensify on downside moves, and in upside moves, Bitcoin is just kind of laid flat. It hasn't really responded too well. I think because of all of the kind of contagion, because of all of the risk off, because of all of the off balance sheet debt that no one really knew existed, you're seeing a lot of risk managers from the legacy world that even if they think, hey, this is really really cheap, Bitcoin is here to stay. They're getting a tap on their shoulder from their risk managers, from their senior guys at the funds they work at. They're saying, hey, we can't touch this right now. The market's very very illiquid. It's moving up 5% or down 5% just on a $500 million in the futures market. It's too illiquid for us to take a sizable position here, and we need to cut risk in general. So I think that's one. The second is that miners are going to continue to face some pressure. There will be kind of a full style capitulation and transfer of coins and ASICs from weak to strong hands. That's in the process of occurring. It's obviously started today with, say, a Core Scientific selling 86% of their Bitcoin holdings over the course of June. And I think the next is that there's a big lesson here in the crypto world broadly. And one, not your keys, not your coins. That's been repeated ad nauseum, and I think a bunch of people understand that. But two is, I think some of the marketing from these lending and yield desks and companies around the space in terms of like advertising it as a savings account, when really they were taking deposits, rehypothecating and chasing yield through kind of various ARB strategies, various fund, giving their funds to hedge funds and et cetera. I think that in terms of having a lasting and effective business strategy, I think that needs to change. And obviously, yield and financial services aren't going anywhere, but it needs to be advertised more clearly to consumers other than just fine print, because a lot of people thought they were just saving their Bitcoin and getting an interest rate like they do at a bank. But ultimately, the risk-free rate of Bitcoin is 0%. And any other yield on top of that requires some risk premium. And then ultimately, there's risk being taken. So I guess that's my 3 main takeaways here. I expect Bitcoin to kind of chop around in kind of an accumulation phase for a while. And if we do see kind of a everything correlation to one event, which I suspect is still to come in the legacy market, Bitcoin will see some downside pressure. But really, all the historical indicators that I see, from capitulation or from miners to macro conditions to just price action and trends previous to all-time highs, Bitcoin's a deep value here, but that doesn't mean it's going to send it to all-time highs tomorrow. So patience is the name of the game. Learn best practices, self-custody, and just understand that in the end, there is no kind of escaping the perpetual credit expansion of the fiat system.